Have you ever noticed that maybe video games, they don't really translate well into video games or movies despite multiple attempts by so many people? Well, actually, that seems to be turning itself around, hopefully for the better. Hopefully we get to see more of these happening, but right now, the hot buzz is all about the Fallout TV show on Prime Video. And if you are not familiar with the Fallout TV show from Prime Video, well, basically, it's really good. I mean, just across the board, everybody is loving this thing. Whether or not you paid attention to the Fallout series at all, it just seems like a really well put together TV show. And as someone who has played some of the Fallout games, as well as is currently watching the TV show, I haven't binged through all of it when recording this, oops. It is really nice to see that they're keeping very faithful to a lot of the elements that exist in Fallout and honestly just respecting the original source work while making their whole brand new story. It's very refreshing to see, and quite frankly, I mean, if you look at the Last of Us TV show, very similar care and dedication is paid to the core material. And honestly, I think that's what the key to success is here. But of course, we're not here to just talk about the Fallout TV show because, well, this is having a little bit of an impact on some of the other franchises' games. As a matter of fact, the sales for all of the Fallout games right now is just on the up right now, which is kind of crazy because a lot of these old games, especially Fallout 3 and like New Vegas, are heralded as like some of the greatest RPG games of all time. And so many people, because of this TV show, are starting to either dip back into those games or completely just try it out because now they've watched the TV show and are interested in the franchise. Well, it's always nice to kind of look at the shiny gems of the franchise. Today, I want to focus on what could be arguably one of the diamonds in the rough, Fallout 76. If you're not familiar with what Fallout 76 is, well, it's an MMORPG that was released by Bethesda Game Studios in 2018, and it was kind of unique because this is the first time that they're going in there and the first time that they're trying out this whole massively multiplayer online business. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure unless you modded the games, the original Fallout games, you couldn't really play multiplayer in them at all. And once again, it was the first attempt at it. And I know what you're saying, oh, Elder Scrolls Online was before that, wasn't it? But that was actually developed by ZeniMax, just distributed by Bethesda. So this is Bethesda Game Studios proper, very first time using their old Fallout 4 stuff and kind of importing it into this MMO. So when Fallout 76 first released, one of the biggest things, besides all of the Bethesda bugs that kind of Bethesda games are known for, woo, Starfield, it was absent of all NPCs. Of course, building on this whole massively multiplayer world type of thing, I think Bethesda just assumed that there were going to be enough players in the game in general to kind of keep the ecosystem alive. One of the main things of Fallout is the whole world and you feeling like you're a part of the world, so it really just kind of missed that whole impact. And once again, upon first release, people did not really like the game. Critically across the board, it was pretty mid at best. I mean, some people even focused in on some of those microtransactions and seasons, passes, all of that type of stuff, where it felt like Bethesda was just trying to milk players dry of their money despite the fact that there wasn't that much content in the game. Then of course, as time has gone on, the game has been updated quite a bit. The whole Wastelanders update that had happened in 2020 added NPCs as well as new quests and all that fun stuff. And so, you know, Bethesda didn't abandon Fallout 76. It just started in a very rough spot and they slowly built themselves up. And what I want to focus on in this video is how this TV show might actually impact the current state of Fallout 76. How so? Well, actually, I want to talk about another gamer franchise that has a very similar story to Fallout 76, and I think you can probably guess what this one is.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
So coming from the studio behind the Witcher franchise, arguably too producing one of the best RPGs of all time, Cyberpunk was extremely hyped up upon its first release, and well, if you paid attention to gaming news at all, oh boy, when it came out, oh no, was it such a massive critical failure across the board. It was absolutely broken, wasn't running on PCs, and then if you people tried the PlayStation 4, Xbox One versions of the game. No, nothing, just nada. This game came out and it was not done at all. And it was honestly really sad because so many people were so excited about this game. I remember when they showed the release of it originally in the thing, like the audience just lost all of their minds. And then a broken piece of garbage basically came out and it just wasn't done. Probably pressure from stakeholders and stuff like that. But it really just cramped everyone's style in what could have potentially been a really cool franchise in the Cyberpunk universe. To CD Projekt Red's credit, they continued to work on the game as time continued to go on. They improved it, they made it stable first, that was the number one thing, and then they added a bunch of content into it to really make it a solid game. As a matter of fact, people were starting to say, hey, Cyberpunk is actually a pretty good game. You should try and dip in and give it a shot, especially too, because since it was such a critical failure, it was consistently on sale all the time. And then, well, certain thing happened to the franchise. When this anime came out, oh my god, it took Weeb Nation, not even just Weeb Nation actually, it took everybody by storm. This thing was so goddamn good and so well put together. Like, I could go on and on and on about the praises of the anime. But the fact of the matter was, it told a really beautiful story in the cyberpunk world, which everyone was so excited about the cyberpunk world, and to see, you know, this whole thing kind of get fleshed out was genuinely really exciting. And the anime was so successful, I think it actually may have won Anime of the Year, or at least been nominated for it, I can't remember. But it drove sales of Cyberpunk 2077 all the way back up. And because CD Projekt Red stuck with it the entire time, there was a really good game for a lot of people to come back to, or once again, start completely fresh. And then the rest is history. The Phantom Liberty DLC was announced, Cyberpunk 2.0 update was created as well. It just completely changed the game, and it just made Cyberpunk 2077 such a fantastic package, and honestly, met the expectations of what people wanted out of Cyberpunk in the first place before it launched and it was a critical failure. And it is one of those stories that you take a look back on and you think like, wow, it's crazy how it went from this piece of shit, excuse my language, to arguably one of the greater games now that is currently in existence. The Phantom Liberty DLC, it's been nominated for multiple game awards as well. And people across the board agree that Cyberpunk 2077 is a fantastic game. But okay, now that we know the Cyberpunk story, let's move things over to the Fallout TV show and take a look at maybe Fallout 76. Was everyone excited about the announcement? When it came out, oh boy was it buggy, and also too, not a good game. It was critically panned, we can't forget that. Okay, that's now 2 for 2 things that are going on. Was it slowly improved after launch? Well, once again, with the Wastelanders part, adding the DLC, adding NPCs, adding quests, adding so much content to the world to make it something that felt alive again. Ironic because it is Fallout and you're in the Wasteland. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can now do in Fallout 76, and on top of that too, they fixed the majority of the bugs that were there in the first place. And so now this TV show comes out, and suddenly the player base for Fallout 76 is the highest that it's ever been, pretty much since launch, I believe, if you take a look at the Steam charts that I'm showing here. Bottom line is you see that large increase in the player count for Fallout 76 on Steam charts. And so what's interesting now is I think we can do a little bit of a prediction as to how Fallout 76 might continue to evolve. Full disclosure, this is me. I'm going to be making a couple of logistical leaps right now, but I'm going to use Cyberpunk as the framework, as well as other MMOs that exist that have done similar things to kind of anchor things down and maybe make it a little bit more plausible. I think we are going to see Fallout 76 now get a fresh start, wipe the slate clean, and really just try and make this whole new wave of Fallout 76 that all of these new players from the TV show can come into and enjoy. Obviously, the most apparent analog here is if we compare it to Cyberpunk 2077, where they did the 2.0 upgrade, more or less reimagining all of the skill trees, a lot of the fundamentals that allowed the game to kind of become more fun, and honestly is just kind of what you wanted out of Cyberpunk in the first place. And while people from the old Cyberpunk saw this coming out, when they swapped over, they enjoyed it a lot. I mean, the whole new systems in the game, pretty good. So, you know, Cyberpunk 2.0, it kind of worked. But how does that work necessarily in the setting of an MMO, right? Because like I said, the Wastelanders, well, it added all this new content. There's NPCs, quest lines, all sorts of stuff to do. You can't just hit 2.0 and then, you know, erase everything that kind of existed and have that fresh start. Well, actually, you kind of can. And there is quite a precedent for this in certain MMOs that exist currently. I mean, the most obvious one is the Final Fantasy XIV slate clean, where they more or less reinvented themselves with the Realm Reborn, which now has led Final Fantasy XIV to become the most successful MMORPG to this date. They gutted all the classic systems, created new stuff, created new story content, threw it out there. Even though people were enjoying Final Fantasy XIV base, you know, Realm Reborn just completely swept everyone off their feet. Even too, when you look at Destiny 2, as we saw their exit out of Activision Blizzard and they started to go independent, Bungie started making a lot of changes to a lot of the core mechanics that existed in the game. It wasn't necessarily that complete slate wipe that we saw from Final Fantasy XIV, but it more or less reset everybody back to this kind of ground zero level with the introduction of different light levels and whatnot, so then that way everyone could really enjoy the whole new content just together again. Even too, if you really want to stretch the brain, I mean, WoW Classic kind of counts. The whole point of that was just to make a hard reset and give people, sure, there's the nostalgia people coming in there, but there's also the newbies who like, oh, you know, there's so much in WoW. Why don't we just start from like, you know, WoW Classic? That's very easy. That's simple. That's manageable. Kind of is just a fresh start again. And so now we're at this very interesting point for Fallout 76, where with the release of this TV show and the renewed interest in Fallout 76 starting to come back with new players swarming in, I'm curious to see how Bethesda Game Studios continues to evolve. Are we going to see something like a 2.0 update where they kind of even things out similar to Destiny 2? Or are they going to wipe the wasteland away and restart it all with this time, you know, adding the NPCs right off the bat and all of that type of stuff? I mean, this is the Fallout universe. If you want to just wipe your slate clean, I mean, it's kind of their whole business in the first place. You know, they've got a very obvious tool, narratively speaking, to kind of get things over again. But it is all very interesting, and so at this point, I invite you to also take a backseat with me, and let's watch what happens to Fallout 76. This is a really interesting point in time, and I'm excited to see where this franchise goes. And remember, the TV show wouldn't have been successful if it wasn't from Rico from Hannah Montana. Yeah, that's right, pivotal role, actually, great role. When I saw that, I'm like, wait a second, is that? No way. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this was a little bit more interesting. And, you know, if you are playing Fallout 76, let me know down below. Did you hop into the game after the TV show came out? Or were you playing it before and you've stuck it through even when it was just that buggy game at first launch with not a huge player base? With the whole setting of West Virginia too, and leaning into the cryptids more, I kind of wanted to dip in, but I remember when it released, it was not good, and so I kept my distance, and now I'm wondering myself whether or not this is where I should start to dip into Fallout 76. Well, anyways, let me know, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we will catch you in the next one. All right, see you later.